Episode 73.
Is it really?
Technically
Wow.
76 because
Moving
there's
right
three.
along.
There's three episodes way back early that were never given numbers.
Ah,
So they're sneaky. You have to go back and find those.
yeah. Okay.
So technically episode 73, but technically episode 76. Lots of technicalities in there, but
About same as the temperature outside right now.
oh, dude, what a good break!
Beautiful.
So, welcome to another episode of the Live Beyond Average podcast. Here today with one of my best friends, Devin Clay. The Devin Clay. What's up, dude?
With a good drink in hand.
Yeah,
too,
dude.
So.
Yeah, nice summer day, Saturday, and it's like temperature dropped.
Oh yeah,
15 degrees.
We went from a feels like temp yesterday of 122, I think, at the highest.
Yeah, maybe 107.
It was like 122.
Was it really?
Yeah.
The humidity was insane.
Yeah,
it was
with the
gross.
humidity, I checked it at about 5 o'clock. It was way up there. I spent a good time of that outside.
Yeah, you were working outside all day.
Thankfully, I'm not a laborer or anything, so I just have to stand in it.
Stand there and tell people what to do.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But yeah, no, the temp came down. Man, it's been a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Starting to feel a little bit like Christmas though this time of year. Getting a lot of tags showing up in the mail.
I got one of my deer tags that rolled in yesterday too.
Yeah, it's been great seeing those.
For sure.
I got my.
Did you get one in the first draw? What did you get in the first draw? The South Dakota first draw.
So
Or
I
did you get
drew.
two?
I got two.
Oh, did you really?
Actually,
Like the only guy I know who's got two.
So yeah, the South Dakota's making some big changes this year,
Mhm.
or made some big changes, I should say.
Yeah.
It's very different for the application process this year, and so far it's actually worked out for me. I don't think everybody can say the same, but
Yeah.
So I drew a East and West River first choice. I did have
Okay.
a preference point going into my East River draw for.
Okay, so you should have drew that one. That's good.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting to draw that one, but with the changes, I wasn't 100% sure. You know,
Yep.
a lot of people are going to stay in their home region this year, which makes sense. I mean, you're going to apply for the areas you 100% want to hunt.
Yeah,
first.
and know you can hunt.
And know you can hunt. Yes, exactly. Not a lot of risk going to be taken this year, especially with the way that things panned out for the rules.
Right, right.
But I did apply for my typical back home tag. Did my normal any deer tag
Sure.
for my first choice, and I did my whitetail tag for my second. Fully expecting to get my whitetail only tag, but I drew an any deer tag.
Dude, and
I think I was only like one of 89 people for that area to do so.
with
so,
0 points. I actually looked at that.
Yeah.
0 points. There was 89 tags left over, and I think like around 450. I mean, I know it's not that exact number, but it's around 450.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how good the chances were.
But it was about the same last year. I looked.
Yeah.
So close to the same. So not a lot of change in that unit.
Yeah, no. Application numbers are pretty much the same all the way through on that unit.
Tough to draw without a preference point.
Typically, yep. But I hunted because we got land to hunt.
Yep.
It's a good amount of private land that we have access to, and
But you got a nice chunk of private over there.
take full advantage of it. So yeah, I mean
100% sure.
that's where my main application is. But
Yeah.
no, it's been good, and we're kind of looking at. You and I spent a little bit of time looking at the applications and kind of the draw statistics for this year versus last year, seeing what kind of changes those.
Yeah.
Or what kind of numbers that actually produce.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see over the next couple years because I don't think it's something we can really judge here on year one yet. Just because things are going to adjust every single year as people are learning the system, as people are actually researching and seeing and building a strategy. Because there is more strategy now with this, which I mean, I was a guy. I didn't want to change. I preferred it the way it was, but the fun part about I look at everything. I'm a definitely half glass full, and then try to figure out how to sell that glass kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so I look at everything in a positive. And so I see this as like, okay, strategy. How can I out strategize? And so just learning that with the new system is going to be fun. And so
it's definitely going to change up.
yes, it's going to change every year. It's going to make it a little tougher to predict, which has its angst, but it's going to be fun too. So
I think it'll help with some of those tags as far as your muzzleloader tags and whatnot.
And this year, it showed it.
I'd actually have to look. I don't know if and we took some screenshots quick of some application
Yep.
Draw statistics. Sorry, and
yeah, let's pull those up. I
don't remember. Did we get one for muzzleloader?
So we did. So the muzzleloader actually did improve. Should be one of the first ones.
Oh,
did improve from 18 to 19.
So it's still 1,000 tags.
Yep.
That didn't change. But the one thing that we did notice is there was about 7,200 people last year that applied.
Yep.
If we're reading these numbers right, I think we are.
Yeah.
To about 4,200 people this year. So that's a pretty big number. I mean, you're losing close to 40%.
But here's something to remember. Those 3,000 people who didn't apply still have preference points that could put in for next year.
And that
most
includes
likely.
myself. I mean,
exactly.
I got 4 or 5 5 I think this year. I was actually, if this change wouldn't have gone through, I was actually expecting to be drawing, or a muzzleloader this year or next year.
How many points did you have?
I got 5 right
Let's
now.
say Amy put in for first choice muzzleloader,
Maybe 6.
and my dad put in
Might
first
be
choice
6.
muzzleloader, and my brother put in first choice muzzleloader. They all had 5 points or 6 points, and none of them drew.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the thing. So here's the kicker. If you go in and look at the statistics, everybody, and I can't remember if it's 13 or 12, but it's around that. I'll say this: all the top point holders drew. So if I can remember right, everybody with 12 points drew, everybody with 11 drew, everybody with 10 drew, and I think everybody but one.
I think there was
9. Everybody except one person with 9 drew, and everybody but a couple.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that, a couple with 8 drew.
Right there too.
So you're seeing a lot of these top point holders out of the pool, and so next year, likely going to see some of that. It's going to free up a few, but I think there's going to be a lot of hidden ones that you're not seeing put in for the app this year that put in somewhere else come to life next year. So that's the unpredictable piece.
Part of that too is going to be how well people remember that, because you can't apply for preference points right now like you used to be able to.
Yeah.
As soon as drawing application open, you could start buying preference points. Now I think it's after third drawing.
It's after third drawing. Yeah, correct.
So
correct.
It'll be interesting to see how people remember to get back on there and buy those preference points.
It'll be interesting.
Because I think a lot of people might move on from the hunting mindset.
I think you're going to see some, but Facebook, dude.
Yeah, that's
Facebook.
There's a lot of reminders.
It's changed the game. Even since I started really hammering, getting extra tags back in the day, it was super easy. But there was no Facebook traffic when nobody was talking about this stuff, and it's changed everything. If you look at the stats over the last several years, everything's gotten harder to draw. It's just because of the amount of traffic that we're seeing in the talk on Facebook, which isn't bad, but it's not necessarily good either.
It's a lot easier to to branch or to get the information without having to actually do the research yourself. I know there's a lot of people that get on there and just ask, "Hey,
I'm really interested by that.
Do this here?"
Yeah,
I typically don't give any advice myself.
I don't either.
The only advice
I am very interested.
Given in the last long while was I had a guy that asked on one of the groups that I'm on Facebook there, asked what kind of trail cams people recommended.
Generic info.
Got zero issue with that. I love to help people get advice for gear. I don't like to give people advice for where to go hunt. If I mention to go hunt, I'll mention some counties that got a lot of public land to make occasionally. But
that's
about
I'm definitely a guy that have gone out and I didn't have I had some nice private land when I was younger to hunt some deer for a few years, and then ownership changed. And I went from hunting some private, all growing up, to none.
Yeah.
And so I look back on, learning how to try to snag tags in other units and going out and adventuring. And I look back now, and I'm so glad I had that opportunity to go out and just start adventuring and going to these other units. And I didn't get on necessarily and ask, "Hey, can you point me in the right direction?" I just went out and found my own direction.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I'm really proud that I did, just because it's how you learn.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's how you're going to figure out things better than anything else.
And I just believe some things are meant to be learned, self-learned, self-taught, and experience the adventure. And that's don't take it away from yourself.
To get everything out of your hunt. I mean,
it was an experience.
What better thing to be like? Yeah, I did a lot of research. I looked into this. I stumbled across this piece. It worked out great. Or, it sucked, whatever, whatever comes of it, you really get a little bit more out of it than, I talked to Bob and he said to go here and it worked out.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some self gratification.
That takes a little bit out of it.
I agree. No,
I think it's
I
a lot
agree.
of fun to be like, oh man,
and,
the hours I put in finding this stuff.
The argument from the opposite side. So let's look at it from the opposite side. Is going to be, I don't have enough time to go out and scout. I don't have those kind of days off. That's okay. I didn't either at the time, but I considered those 3 hunting days. Mm-hmm. I didn't go scout. I just went to the piece and hunted.
Yeah, you don't.
And you just learn it as you go.
Scouting's great if you can, but you don't. It's not a necessity. It's not a necessity to go out and have a good hunt.
Exactly, and just learn and enjoy the hunt. I agree.
Sometimes you end up on bad. Even when you scout, I mean, stuff moves. It's public ground.
Yeah.
If it moves off your ground, you're
yeah.
You could just easily move on to the ground that you never scouted.
Exactly.
You never know. I mean, I've always struggled with that with trail cameras. Because how often have I passed up on stuff thinking, whoa,
I saw this one and this one.
That big buck was here.
Mm-hmm.
That don't mean crap. When the time actually rolls around, he could be 10 miles away.
Oh, dude. And they've done, I mean, there's tons of studies out there on deer and how far they travel.
Yeah.
Certain times of the year.
And they travel a lot.
We got off course there. I like it.
Yeah,
Rambling. Oh, dude. So, yeah, we talked about the muzzleloader. Mm-hmm. And it appears this year that the muzzleloader, the amount of people did drop very well. But I think...
much of that's going to come
I think
back
the prediction for next year isn't that it's still going to be a tough tag to draw.
I think that's just it. It's a new system. It's the first year into it. We're not gonna know until we have a good sample size of what's actually gonna be going on.
Agreed.
But it is interesting to see how many had to veer off of that from who was just throwing in for this and throwing for that. Because I was that guy. I threw in for everything I had. I'm like,
duh.
I'll apply.
Of course,
why not?
Of course. So there's a lot of guys out there. There's going to be 30,000 plus guys out there, actually more, that have, just because that's all you're seeing, that didn't apply. But there's going to be a lot of guys out there still with preference points. So just remember that going into next year's draw.
Yeah, and I don't remember if we have a... Do you lose preference points if you don't apply for them every year, or do you always keep them?
They say after a couple, I think, but they've never really... I've heard that they don't really
I've never looked into it because I've
always
just bought them.
So I shouldn't even talk about this, but I have a buddy that moved to Iowa like 5 or 6 years ago, and he just moved back to South Dakota this year, so he wasn't able to, obviously, for those 6 years, apply for elk, bighorn sheep, mountain goat. And he moved back. Well, he still had his login because he still applied for everything in South Dakota that he could as a non-resident. But he came back and hit all of his big game, which I consider the premier tags, the elk, bighorn, the elk, bighorn, sheep, goat, and they're still there.
Nice.
And so they weren't taken away. So,
which
who cares? You
personally,
bought
I'm okay with.
You bought them.
You bought them.
They should stay. You purchased them. They should be in your account.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's great if you can apply every year, but sometimes that just doesn't work out.
You're good. Sometimes you just forget. Honestly, you just forget. It happens.
It happens.
So let's move on. We talked about muzzleloader. Let's go to black, another major unit. One that I think the Game and Fish was expecting to see change in this year. Was Black Hills deer, and let's break it up.
We actually looked at the mule deer and the whitetail draw statistics for this because everybody wants to apply for the any deer tag. I mean, typically.
And
but there are some people.
It's very limited.
I actually got some friends that whenever they apply for the hills, they apply for whitetail because they feel like it's going to give them a better option because everybody's applying for the any deer.
And it is a little bit better.
I don't know if that's.
It is a little bit.
How much it actually helps them, but I think it helps them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there's only 100 landowner or 100 non-landowner mule deer tags, I call it mule deer tags because if you draw that, you're not going to be targeting a whitetail because you're not going to take 10 years to draw that tag.
Yeah. Exactly.
And or more now.
You
go after a whitetail when you can draw a whitetail tag in a couple years.
So it looks like
it stayed almost the same, right?
Almost exact same within.
Like it dropped a couple hundred.
Looks like within a couple hundred of applications with 0 more preference points, which is everybody.
Yeah.
So I mean it
so you
really did not change at all.
You saw the demand in that. Yeah. And the value of that tag that people see that as.
And I wonder if that's people just mainly looking at what's available for public land.
And so, public land access. Here's another thing I viewed it as. So I put in for that as one of my first choices this year. I viewed it as maybe getting lucky that other people were going to be applying for other things. And I think a lot of people took that same strategy.
Well, and another thing is I wonder the number of hunters on that side of the state versus east versus west. How many?
Well, there's obviously a higher
hunters?
Population over here, but it doesn't mean they're not applying.
Yeah, but
westward.
How many of them on this side of the state were like?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how many more of them were like? Oh,
Well, I think what you saw a lot of the East River guys.
East River guys. You picked up a lot of West River guys.
I actually think you saw a lot of East River guys that played for their home range, East River, and did Black Hills deer as their second because, and I think you're going to see a lot of the Black Hills any deer, just because a lot of guys are saying, well, if I'm going to travel all the way out to the Black Hills, I want to shoot a mule deer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can shoot a whitetail at home.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna. I think I've read it. I really enjoy reading forums. I'm not a big. I don't suck in a lot of content, but I enjoy reading what people write. And it just, some of it blows my mind. Some of it's just very interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're gonna see a lot. So and then the whitetail.
The whitetail was essentially the same. It looks like
that's it. Almost like under a couple hundred, 300.
Under 200 difference there. It looks like they had just under 6,200 last year and just under 6,000 this year. I mean,
and there's 3,500 tags, but they increased it this year a little bit though, right? A few. I think a few hundred tags. Or is it the same? I thought
that's a really good question. I don't actually have.
I shouldn't have brought it up.
I didn't get the full
the full picture. I'm pretty sure they increased a few tags this year for whitetail in the hills,
which makes sense.
But there's been so many changes this year that I can't keep them all straight, man.
Yeah,
I can't keep them all straight. But either way, you're still looking at, to really think you're probably going to draw that tag, at least a preference point, 2 to be 100% sure.
For sure.
Okay, so we talked about 2 of the big ones. The other big one that people a lot of times forget about, but it actually is a very sought after tag, is the Custer. And excuse me, I put in for Amy for the Black Hills deer for the other first choice. I put in Custer for myself as that other, thinking maybe that would be the unit that gets slumped off and I could snag a tag.
And that one actually did.
It did drop off a little bit.
We looked at the mule deer and we looked at the
there's so many high point holders in that.
The mule deer one actually dropped off about half.
Yeah. But the problem is there's a lot of high point holders for that. 20 years.
And there's not many tags.
And there's 5 tags. Dude.
Yep.
I think 5 mule deer tags this year.
And everybody that drew this year, well, they put 2 or more. Is how they break it out. I didn't actually look at the full breakout.
I did a couple weeks ago, Devin. And, dude, there's a lot of high point holders. And I think I had 8 years for that going into this year's all. And, yeah, and you have to remember there's a lot of guys it's not showing up because they didn't apply for it. Like, it's going to be in a massively...
And it's
one of the lowest percentage tags you can put in for in the state.
It's not a tag that I put in for. I would love to hunt it. I just don't put in for it. I don't have a dad that hunts anymore. He quit hunting before I got into it for a long time before I got into it. So, I didn't have quite that head start that some guys did. I know Greg hunts a lot.
Yeah,
and
I was
got you guys into it early and started getting you guys preference points as soon as possible.
Right.
So there's just some areas I've just pretty much wrote off as a loss, and that is one thing. With elk, I'm working my butt off trying to get as many preference points, and I apply for it every year.
Yeah, of course.
On the
you could be that guy.
I could be that guy that everybody hates. So
yes,
I throw in for it every year, just hoping for the best. But
whenever you log on, there's always that one guy with 4, and everybody's like, "Who's the lucky son of a gun that drew the 4?"
So I always hope to be that guy. So
awesome.
But yeah, it's one of those. Are we breaking here?
Nope, keep rocking.
Okay, we're still going. I should have you do a refill for me too.
Hand it over.
One second here.
Hand it over. I'll refill you.
Summertime, you gotta have a nice cold drink.
Yep.
So for that, I mean, it's a great deer opportunity, great deer hunting opportunity to get out there to Custer to try to get myself a big old muley. But I have other options for that, and I guess it's just one of those areas I choose not to try to flood any more than it already is.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's going to be several years of build-up before I even have a chance of it. So,
dude, people talk about premier tags in the state, and that tag never gets brought up. That is seriously one of the hardest statistically tags to draw in the state. Like, it's way harder than a lot of things. It's nuts. The
And
odds are not in your favor.
So
and they
going
won't be,
off of that,
even with
though,
20 years.
Looking at the Custer whitetail, it looks like that dropped off.
Yeah.
Approximately half. I mean,
Cut
a little
off.
bit more actually than half. Again, we'll see what that brings in the future.
There's still guys with preference points that
Still
didn't
guys
put in.
with preference points.
I think that's easily forgot by guys. They're like, oh yeah, the odds are better. Half guys applied, but next year they're still there could be because the guys who didn't put in for it last year could put in for next year.
And I think there's a lot of confusion for a lot of guys when they're applying for tags. Like, I think we might have touched on group applications at one point in a previous podcast. I could be totally dreaming this up too.
Well, dude, I mean, you talk about confusion. I mean, there was so many adjustments and changes this year. I messed up the archer thing. I messed it up on a podcast with Dustin the other day.
Yeah.
Like, I talked about how, like, we both honestly believe that...
I got 2 of them, so
yeah,
you can still,
I know it's not true.
Like,
I thought that it switched to only being one archery buck tag across the state this year, and I'm like, no, and then I looked and I logged on after the podcast, and I'm like, no, you can still buy 2.
And
that was dumb. Yeah, and about the statewide tag by accident.
I will say right here, right now, I will never buy a statewide tag again in my life.
Yeah, honestly messed up. You know, there's been a lot of changes.
That's so disheartening when you fill tag
opening
your statewide
week.
tag opening day, and you go, oh, crap, now what do I do?
Be hunting the other side.
I'll donate $40 every year. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's whatever. It's going to a good cause. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I got both my tags, my East River, West River archery tag.
Okay, nice.
South Dakota did make a really good change though this year that I'm a big fan of as a South Dakota resident.
Yes, dude, I am too. I don't all the changes.
And I don't
happy
hunt.
To see this one.
I don't hunt a whole lot of public ground for rifle, but I do for archery.
Yeah.
And mainly East River archery. I have some about 50-50 of public versus private, easy access ground to get onto that I bounce back and forth to. And I like what they did this year. South Dakota, I feel like did a real solid for their residents here. And they're upping our season to September 1st, which is actually a Sunday this year, which kind of sucks.
It's odd. So
Labor Day's on the 2nd, so you still get a 2-day.
Yeah, and to make it clear, they did change it last year to September 1st open, but it was for residents. It's for everybody.
For everybody, yeah.
No stipulations.
So what they did this year, though, they basically went back to the old format for non-residents.
Pretty close, within a week.
A
few days, yep.
So instead of the last weekend in September, it's October 1st, I believe.
Yep. For public land hunting.
For public land hunting, for private ground, you still can hunt it whenever. But for the residents, it's September 1st, so we get an extra month, basically.
Yep. If you're a non-resident, you can hunt September 1st as well. It's got to be private land.
Yep.
And,
we kind of did some reading online here, and there's a lot of non-resident guys.
A lot of hate towards
that
it.
were, very, very against this, and they felt it was blocking access to public ground, which I took a little bit of offense on, because I'm like, the state's not blocking anything. It's hunting regulations,
you can't hunt in public
which
land.
is no different than any hunting regulation. That's like saying that, putting any kind of stopper on you hunting is blocking. To me, that's nonsense. It's a logical fallacy. It's wrong.
Yep.
And they were bad precedents, bad whatever.
I'm a taxpayer. I should be able to hunt. Well, it's like you be able to hunt. You still have a 3-month season. October 1st to the end of the year. You still can access all that same land. It's just your opening date.
Well, and there was even guys I threw out there like, well, okay, so what if we look at doing like Montana does? Getting a deer tag in Montana for a non-resident's like what, $1,000 almost. I think by the time you're done with everything, maybe not quite that high, but it's expensive.
It's expensive.
And,
either way, it's expensive.
South Dakota's a couple $100.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact amount. Do I want to say $260 or am I thinking Nebraska on that? Because we pay $262 in Nebraska.
I know Nebraska.
I can't keep them all straight. I apply for like 17 states.
I don't think it's overly expensive though.
Straight.
Still, it's a couple $100 if that.
It's not expensive, $250 maybe.
For a non-resident to get an archery tag, and we're still unlimited tags for non-residents.
Yep.
So I think as an opportunity state and as a what's the other one? They got the opportunity states and they got the trophy states. Is that how they?
I'm not sure how that's worded. I always forget the wording on that. Yeah.
Anyway, so South Dakota we're gonna go with trophy states because I like that.
Utilize it. I'll roll with it. I'll let you roll with it.
We still give a tremendous amount of opportunities to guys. I mean, our preference points are cheap for
$10, dude. It's ridiculous.
Which I find, again, offensive. Like, come on, up those numbers. Bring in some outside money. If we want to let people hunt, let's bring in some outside money.
I don't see. I don't think you gotta make it $25 or $30. I mean,
no, I don't think you gotta make it outrageous. Just
no. But $10 is pretty free.
That's pretty free. Yeah.
Especially since you're only getting a couple preference points.
Yeah.
You're not buying. I'm not buying 8 preference points like I am down in like Utah, Nevada, or something.
Exactly.
Like it's you're buying 1, but you're buying 2 or 3.
We have a tremendous amount of opportunity in the state, and not only that, we have a tremendous amount of trophy potential. I mean, South Dakota is some of the best hunting, I think,
especially on private ground.
Yeah,
and you can get some great private ground access on some outfitters.
You can't ask for a whole lot better.
Yeah, no, it's really a good opportunity.
And it's
like you nailed it.
It's fairly easy ground to hunt. On top of everything else, come to our public ground, you're not hunting mountains.
Yeah,
it's prairie ground. It's rolling hills. I mean,
you're gonna deal with competition.
Competition, sure,
is high.
Yeah,
is high.
That's to be expected. But
agreed. Agreed.
So yeah, I'm really happy with this change. Honestly, I think it's great for South Dakota residents. I think every state should.
There's got to be some protection, a little bit of letting the residents enjoy what they're supporting.
And I think that
something to make clear too, a lot of the public ground in South Dakota that is being hunted, and I'm taking out the Black Hills, but the rest of the public ground in South Dakota
is not federally owned.
Yeah. Most of it, it is under Walk-in Acre program, which is privately owned ground that is leased to Game Fish and Park. Or Game Fish Parks leases it in that Walk-in Acres program for public access, and so it's not federally owned or state owned.
Public ground like some people.
Yes,
it's not like you can go camp on it. It's
not, you actually can't. You cannot.
You can't camp on Walk-in. No, you can camp on BLM. Or any federal owned ground, but walking ground is
private land
ground. It's private ground.
It's private ground that is for walk-in acres for hunting.
Yep, exactly.
And some of those hunting
and not shooting practice either. It's strictly hunting. You can't go out there and shoot targets or whatever.
No. And even some of those grounds are timelined, only open certain time frames of the year. Mm-hmm. Some of them are open all year round. Some of them are only certain time frames of the year. So tons of different. I mean, there is a lot of rules. If you're gonna come to South Dakota, make sure you pop that rule book open.
Even
it's tough to keep.
Even we got some walk-in that's privately owned. It's just walk-in ground next to our ranch out West River there that only has access from one side.
Yep.
You can't actually go through our private ground for it.
Yeah, because you guys own
Game Fish and Parks because there's no mutual access easement purchased by the Game Fish Parks, and we won't give them one. Because of all the access that we saw initially when that got put into walk-in, there was so much traffic through our stuff. So we actually had to contact
when you guys saw poaching happen.
There was a lot of questionable stuff for sure. So we actually had it posted no access once they hit the end of their mutual access easement done.
Yep.
If you wanted to access that, you actually had to go around quite a ways and go through the guy that leased the land.
It's rough.
You had to go through his area to get to it.
Yeah, it really actually it's rough, and it goes to show you that's why a couple guys can ruin a good thing for everybody else.
Yep.
Because if that easement could have kept there, it'd have been a great thing for guys. But it was ruined by a couple idiots.
Yeah, when we never actually had an easement there, people just assumed. And
exactly.
So now we have it posted, and it works out great for us actually when we want to hunt it because we do have access from both sides.
From the other side, yeah. But it doesn't stop anybody from accessing.
No, and we've rarely gone into it because we have land opportunities everywhere else. Why ruin somebody else's stuff?
Yep, let them have it. Exactly.
So I think that's a great thing, and
so also one other thing with that becomes they actually put a timestamp on when, as a non-resident, when you can go purchase the tag. So this year it's in August, next year it's in April. But one thing to make clear on that, we talked about me and Dustin on the other podcast. One thing to make clear that we did not talk about was that if you're going to hunt private land, I believe you can still purchase that
whenever.
archer tag whenever you want.
Yep, same time
whenever you want.
Whenever we can apply.
Yep.
And I don't think, now don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure it's correct, but I think you and I kind of looked into it quick, or maybe I just looked at it. I don't remember. About when those tags were actually being purchased anyways for archery public ground hunting. And it wasn't really any sooner than that.
I'm
Very
pretty sure most of them
rare
were in October, mid-October.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of as a last-minute non-residents looking at, okay, where can I go hunt? I didn't draw here.
Uses as backup
South
state.
Dakota, boom. Yeah.
It was used as a backup state. So, like, you saw a lot of this complaining online about, now I have to put in here and there. Well, it's because they were purchasing it mid-October. They're complaining about not being able to hunt on public ground from September to October 1st, but they were it was a pretty good amount, I believe, were purchased in October.
Yeah. I think the vast majority.
I believe I remember you telling me. You did look at this and you told me about it.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting.
Yeah. So
there's you know what though, a lot of everything is just
a lot of people don't like change.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people. I won't lie.
I won't either.
But the big thing to take away from this is South Dakota is not blocking access to public ground.
Not one bit.
Not at all.
You have a 3-month season still. For public
and they're not limiting hunting opportunities for non-residents. I mean, they had 1 year that they could technically go back to and be like, last year we had an extra month.
Only hunt in
That's
September.
the only month that it's ever happened for.
Yeah.
And you got 1 year of grace. That's done.
You can only hunt September 1st in 2018.
Yeah, and the only reason I say that is because people were saying, well, what if Colorado pushed back the elk season for non-residents? I'm like, we didn't push anything back. We just put it back to normal.
For you guys.
Extended the front, we front-loaded
the
residents.
If you look
and I'd be perfectly okay if every state did that a little bit to give themselves their residents.
Here's the
part
thing.
of a benefit of living in that state.
Yes, and if you look at South Dakota history, we've been doing that with pheasant hunting
for years.
We've had 2 separate seasons that open before non-residents could hunt. There's a youth season that opens early, and then there's a resident season that opens early. And so there's been that opportunity as a resident and if you look at the numbers of dollars brought into the state,
it's no different than
is huge.
Any state offering. I mean, Montana, a resident can buy a deer tag for like $40, if that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's that much. Non-residents pay like $600, $700, $800, whatever it is. What's the difference? Opportunity is opportunity. Money's an opportunity. Time's an opportunity. Everything's going to make things easier. And every state does program, I believe, and I think every state does, to help out their residents, as they should. Whether it's money, whether it's the application time, whether it's the season.
And here's the thing. If you're a non-resident listening to this, definitely not at all not understanding where you're coming from. Totally do, because I apply
out of state all the time
for like 16, 17 states. You know what I mean? So I totally get it where you're coming from. But that being said, it's just it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, and it's a great thing for residents. I would hope that other states would have some things in line for the residents to have slightly better opportunity or advantage early or whatever that is.
Yeah, I would agree.
To experience or to have a very have somewhat of a more guaranteed enjoyable time out in the field.
Yep, and a lot of that enjoyableness is just not shooting over each other's heads the entire time, or seeing orange everywhere you look. I mean, that's part of having an enjoyable, fulfilling hunt, is that I want to feel like I'm in the woods or out in the lands by myself. Somewhat. But if everywhere I look, I see guy. It takes away a little bit of that.
And people forget too, if they haven't experienced the South Dakota landscape, many parts of our areas that are being hunted on public land, it does not take very many hunters to fill up a high acreage area because of the vast openness.
It's flat, it's open, you can
sit on a high point and glass every direction and glass a big piece of public, and you could hunt that whole piece of public yourself and pretty much see everything. Well, if people don't realize that, they're like, oh well, you're complaining because I only saw 2 other guys out in your public land. There was a 3-mile piece of public, but you don't understand. I can hunt a mile and a half each direction of that myself, very quickly. Yep. And so it's just a different landscape.
Well, and one thing too, especially during rifle season, is we do use high-powered rifles. We're not using slugs like Minnesota or something like that. So bullets
Minnesota,
travel
Wisconsin is totally different.
A long ways. So to say, okay, I got 5,000 acres to hunt, it doesn't take that many people. We've experienced that with our own ground.
Yep.
I mean, there's a good chunk of ground there, and about 4 or 5 guys is about all you can do.
And I like your outlook because you're a private land hunting guy. Mm-hmm. You're also a public land hunting guy. You do 50% of your hunting on private, and you do 50% of your hunting on public.
Yep.
And so I like your outlook on some of these things because you're not just coming from a private landowner standpoint, and you're not just coming from a public land hunting standpoint. So I do appreciate your outlook on these things.
It's great to have as many people to have the opportunity to hunt the public ground. The thing is, it comes down to kind of a safety issue as well, as I like to not have to worry about, hey, if I shoot this animal out here, you're trying to glass everything, and you always do anyways to make sure it's clear and everything else. But if you get too many people on that ground, especially shooting a 300 Win Mag or a 7mm or whatever the heck you're shooting, I mean, those bullets travel forever, and so you got to be so careful. And more people out there, just spread out everywhere. Especially public ground hunters, because there's a lot of people that are new to it or inexperienced, and they don't wear what they should. I mean, last year doing our rifle antelope hunt with another buddy, I mean, we saw guys that were not wearing orange.
Right.
I'm like, man, we got...
Dude, I've seen a TV show.
This is sketchy.
Guys weren't wearing orange on their show.
Yeah, it gets sketchy, and it makes you nervous. And
it's interesting. Like in an area where you were supposed to wear orange.
Oh yeah. This is a big piece of public walk-in or public ground, and
dude. And here's the thing too: is it's just I have horror stories over the last 5 years hunting a lot. I mean, almost all of my hunting exclusively has been public over the last 5 years, 6 years, and I've experienced some things that are below your mind. And it happened to me one year, and I'll be like, oh, just a random guy, and then the next year it happened twice, and I'm like, what?
I've had guys look through their rifle scopes
multiple times
at me.
Yep.
And the guy I was hunting with, I think it was Krell actually at the time.
Yep.
They were hunting public and we were on private, but they looked at us through their scope to see what we were doing, because whether or not they didn't have binoculars or it was just more convenient, I don't know. But we're like, what the heck is going on here? And I've heard other stories about. I started tying, if I'm hunting public ground, I tie an orange bandana to whatever, if I'm packing out.
Sure. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Because I've heard about guys that have literally had the animal on their back be shot at, and a different podcast I was doing, and the guy's pack got shot, put a bullet hole through it. Dude. I'm like, whoa.
Can you imagine?
But
that's the thing.
You're hunting with guys you don't know.
My dad's such a bit a big scoundrel when it comes to wearing orange. He's like, get your orange on, he's that way. And I love going to New Mexico because I'm like, sweet, rifle season, don't have to wear orange, and I love it because I can just wear my camo. But then at the same time I'm like, what if there's an idiot out here? You know what I mean? Because it just that stuff does happen.
It happens,
and so it does make you worry a little bit.
I think most hunters try to be safe, but
100%.
There's just some people that just don't.
It's that 1% that just, or 5%, whatever it is. It's a low number that just, it makes up 90% of the talk that we do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so it's unfortunate, but it's just nothing's ever going to be perfect. But it's just something to think about, And so, I think that's a good idea. I love how some of the packs actually have the flip out when you're on their load shelves. They actually have the orange option flip outs.
Yeah, I think my pack's got you can buy an orange stick it kind of deal. But I've had just as much luck taking an orange bandana.
Just a little bandana
buy
on
off
there.
Amazon for $5 for 4 of them, and you
tie it on your tie it on the antler at least or something.
That's the best
it's
place to put it.
Never a bad idea. I agree.
So to pivot from this, because we've been talking about the tags for a while. what is your thought? And I asked this mainly because me and some buddies just went in and bought a new wall tent. Mm-hmm. And by new, I mean a 15-year-old Montana campus wall tent.
New to you.
But
it's a new to
you. New to us. Perfect condition.
I saw your Snapchats, dude.
Yeah,
so cool.
We actually set it up today and let it did a little storm testing on it.
Yeah, you had 70-mile-an-hour windstorm test.
It wasn't planned. We kind of saw it coming, but we were like,
it was rough.
Give it a whirl. Whatever.
Like Highline poles down here.
So, convenience versus comfort when you're hunting.
Oh yeah, dude.
Do you have a preference?
So I would love to take one side or the other, but I've taken both sides. So I love the experience of convenience, where you're just don't have to lose any sleep driving places in the morning. You can be nice and close. You know, you're experiencing it all right there. Like, I love that. But I also sometimes, depending on the hunt, sometimes just being home or being in a hotel room and I can have a crock pot on during the day. Like, that's nice too. You know what I mean? So it just depends. For me, it just depends on the hunt. Like, when I hunt New Mexico in this area that I'm hunting for a third time this year, we rent, like, there's this little tiny little cabin, and we rent it. It's like, it's a dump hole, dude. Like, but it is all, like, it has a sink, it has a sink, it has a bed, and it has a shower, and it has a stove. And, like, I can leave a crock pot on during the day because it has electricity. And so when I come home, I don't have to take, because we put on miles on that hunt daily. And I can come back, and I don't have to cook in the evening, and it's there. Like, I do enjoy that side of it, especially on an elk hunt where I'm exerting a ton of energy to get down a good bull.
And there is some convenience, I guess, built into the comfort on that one.
Yes, it's a combination. It's kind of it's not like this. It's not luxurious. Like, I'm staying on this nice lodge or something. It just happens to be like that. There's like this little campground that has some cabins. They're not like cabins. They're like shacks, little shanties built right there, and we just rent the little shanty, and it's literally in the middle of the unit we're hunting. And so it's not like, I mean, I get up in the morning and I drive to a little piece of public, you know, where I'm going to access at, whatever my access point I'm, and I'm hiking. And so it's awesome.
Yeah. See, I'm a big one for convenience, which is why we bought a tent. I hate having to get up in the morning and drive.
Losing a hour of sleep.
And it's not really me so much. Like, I'm a morning person.
Yep.
I have next to no problem getting up early, but most of the people that I go hunting with are slow at it.
Agreed.
And to get them up and rolling and everything else, by the time we get out there, I'm like, come on, guys,
you're missing out on hunting.
And usually when, you know, if we do go to some of our places, you know, you go to town or stay in a hotel or whatever, there's usually a bar close.
Sure.
There's a lot of college buddies that I'm going with, and so a lot of times it ends
You'll end up
you
at the
get
bar.
back, go to the bar, you have your drinks, and then you're like, why did I do that to myself? So I'm a big advocate for convenience. If I can stay in a tent or my truck even, I mean, I've done that plenty of times where I've slept in my truck to get up the next morning to just go hunt.
Done it too.
It sucks at the time, but man, there's nothing like just waking up and hunting. I mean,
I agree.
You step out of your truck, you step out of your tent, you're good to go. Wherever the heck you see the buck or deer or antelope or elk or whatever you want to shoot, you're on the hunt.
Yeah, so. I agree. Me and Matthew have actually been, because we do a lot of like off the road access. We have over the years, and so it's like we've really debated on and I should have just did it years ago, buying a topper on the truck and putting a couple cots in there. Like, I've really heavily debated on doing that, but I just haven't bit the bullet.
We actually had a guy do that a couple years ago. We set up a couple tents, and one of the guys didn't want to set up his tent, so he has a topper on his truck. He's got a 6.5 foot box. Threw in his cot. I think he had to leave his tailgate down. I don't remember if he was able to get that shut or not with the cot in there, but whatever. The glass door was shut. Tailgate, I think, was down. Cot was there. He made himself a home. Slept in the back of his truck on his cot. I mean, he's like, it's no different than sleeping in a tent. I can just drive away with mine at the end of the day. But one of the things I like too is when you are doing like the tents or the wall tents or whatever, deer camp to me always seems a little more fun, a little more personable, a little more
laid back, you're just enjoying time.
Yeah, it kind of forces you to just communicate better. I mean, got no one else around you. There's nowhere to go. You're just there. That's usually when we'll try to bring some stupid little card games or whatever to do. I think one year we played like some, I don't even remember what the heck it was. You rolled rubber pigs.
Dude, that's like Pig Mania, dude.
I don't remember
Pig Mania.
And it was like,
no, that's a classic.
They landed.
That is a classic game.
One of the guys had one. We're like, what the heck is this?
I haven't thought about that game.
And then we played it for like 4 hours.
I haven't thought about that game in years. I used to play it as a kid with my dad. Yeah, you have 2 little rubber piggies in a can, and you roll them. You get the double snouter, man, like ultimate points.
Yeah, we had like literally no idea what it was.
They land in certain directions. Yeah, it's a sweet game.
And now every time that we have a camp set, we're like, you got the rubber pigs?
You got Pig Mania, bro?
You got those? Like, we still don't know what it's called. Apparently it's Pig Mania.
It's Pig Mania. I'm going to buy me Pig Mania.
It's a great little...
It's Yahtzee on steroids.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yahtzee on steroids.
It's a lot of fun to play those little games. You have a beer or two at camp. We cook some shitty food. I'm sorry, I shouldn't probably swear. Whatever. My bad. We cooked some food on our camp stove and that kind of stuff. And last year we had our buddy Tyler make. He cooked really thick, good bacon.
Oh yeah.
In a nice cast iron.
Yep.
Pan, and then proceeded to cook eggs in like the half-inch of grease that was in them. And oh man, it was borderline delicious and disgusting. I couldn't really decide which because there was so much grease.
That's awesome. Hi, buddy. So we actually, Travis totally spoiled us last year on our last hunt down in New Mexico. He brought his Green Mountain smoker, and he cooked us beef every night. And so after that, I was like, I really want one of those for taking along on hunts. Well, my family got together on my birthday this year and bought me a Traeger.
Nice.
And I've been cooking with it like every single night. And so now I'm taking that with me on like hunts where I'm gonna be like I have just around the camp like that. Mm-hmm. It's coming with me, dude. Yeah. Because we're eating good. And when you can eat, it's coming with me to New Mexico this year. Because I have electricity in the little shanty. Yeah. And now it's like it's really
Crock
easy.
Pot, smoke
a little steaky at the end of the night. And it's something where you can step away from. And you don't have to worry about burning your stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and when you can eat something that's good, it's amazing how much more energy and optimism you have on that hunt. It's just brings you to life.
To have an actual meal, there's just nothing better.
Yeah,
I will say the only thing with the convenience thing that I miss is shower. Man,
yeah.
I have no problem with getting hot and sweaty and stinky for a couple days, but at some point you're just like, I would absolutely
It'd be nice
for a shower right now.
Yeah, my pants stink.
Yeah, my pants stink. Everything stinks. I don't care what I do. I've changed. I still stink. I know. Just need a shower. But
yeah, agreed. That is the worst part of when you have the week-long trips.
Yeah,
where you're away. It's the worst. It is the worst. But cool, dude.
Yeah, I think got a lot covered today.
We rambled, which is good. We just covered a lot of stuff. We might have messed some stuff up, but I feel like
we are correct to the best of our abilities. We'll leave it at that. We could be totally wrong.
I'll take that. Feel free to correct us, but just know that we weren't trying to trigger you.
Yeah, we're not trying to mislead anybody or
feel like we're elite. You know what I mean? That's not the point.
I hope that we're right and factual on everything that we're trying to give.
Yeah.
And if we're wrong, comment. Let us know.
Exactly.
We'd love to be proven wrong as much as possible. We love a good debate.
You love a good debate.
I love a good debate.
And I'll just troll.
But yeah, no, I think it's been good.
It's been awesome, dude. Another good podcast. I'm glad. We early summer was just busy for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a month time frame where we didn't have much podcast there, but we've had a lot in the last week. Just getting back, rolling a little bit. And I think part of that is just because when we're sitting 5-6 weeks out from hunting seasons, the excitement starts to grow a little bit, and there's always that little lull in the spring where you're just hammered with all the state applications, and you're getting a lot of unsuccessful's back.
A lot of rejection letters.
Yeah, a lot of rejection letters.
Got a few of those.
Feel like my early years applying for colleges, and so.
Well, now we need to get you, me, and Dustin on one of these here.
Dude, agreed. And so Travis Stevens, TS Customs wants to do a podcast too. So that's on the line somewhere here soon, hopefully. So I'd actually really love for all me, you, Dustin to head up there, meet him for some podcasts, and have the four of us, I think would be a really interesting podcast, just because his knowledge is beyond belief about firearms and custom firearms. And what he does
I'd love to pick his brain.
Beyond belief. Like, I sat in a vehicle down in New Mexico and back with him on a hunt this year, and I didn't scratch the surface with that guy. Yeah. Like, he's unbelievable. So he'd be somebody that I'd like just a bunch of minds to sit down with him just to be able to pick brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I get to the point with him where I don't even, I stop talking and I just listen.
I mean, I'd like to chat with him from
he's
anything
unreal.
from
He's unreal.
His preferred caliber to, lightweight versus heavyweight guns. I mean, there's so much variety out there for that kind of stuff that it would be great to talk to somebody that has absolute knowledge on it.
Exactly. So, agreed. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for jumping on another episode of the Live Beyond Average podcast, episode number 73, technically 76 if you're a true fan and know.
I did call him, too, about the shirts to make sure that we matched. I wanted to look cute.
Texted me this morning. He's like, hey, dude, what shirt you wearing? Let's wear the same shirt.
It happened on accident, but, it does look
We're
cute.
just owning it. I could have changed upstairs. Nah, we'll let people make fun of us. Have a great day, you guys.
Thanks.
Oh, no, I forgot to press record.
Oh, no, sorry.